The greatest limitations are rarely the ones imposed by the world, but the ones we place on ourselves. And at the heart of every remarkable achievement, every extraordinary leap forward, lies an unshakable truth. The power of self-belief can turn the impossible into reality. For it is not the absence of challenges, nor the abundance of resources, nor even the clarity of the path ahead that determines your success, but the belief you carry deep within that you are capable of more than you have ever been told, more than you have ever imagined, and more than your present circumstances might suggest. Because self-belief is not arrogance, it is not blind optimism, it is the quiet yet unbreakable conviction that regardless of the obstacles, setbacks, and doubts you face, whether they come from within or from others, you have the capacity to adapt, to learn, to rise, and to keep going until what once seemed impossible becomes your new reality. And the truth is, the impossible is not a fixed state. It is simply a label the world gives to things that have not yet been done, things that exist outside the comfort zone of ordinary thinking. But history is proof that the impossible of yesterday becomes the ordinary of today because of people who dared to believe in themselves when no one else did. People who understood that belief is not just a feeling, it is a decision, a commitment to show up every single day with courage and discipline, even when fear whispers that you are not enough, even when the voices of critics echo louder than your own, even when progress is invisible and the finish line is nowhere in sight. Because self-belief is a seed that grows not in perfect conditions, but in the storms of doubt, in the seasons of hardship, in the times when giving up feels like the easiest choice, yet you choose to stand firm, to keep moving, to refuse to let temporary failure define permanent destiny. And the most remarkable thing is that once you choose to believe in yourself, everything changes, not because the world becomes easier, but because you become stronger, more resilient, and more willing to endure the discomfort that greatness demands. And you realize that belief is a form of power that cannot be taken from you unless you surrender it willingly. That no matter how much talent you have, without belief it remains locked away. While with belief even the smallest spark of potential can grow into a blazing fire, capable of lighting up the darkest paths. And yes, there will be moments when doubt creeps in, when fear tries to convince you that you are chasing a dream too big, a goal too far, a vision too unrealistic. But remember that doubt and fear are not signs that you are incapable. They are signs that you are on the edge of growth, that you are pushing beyond the boundaries of what you have known. And the edge is always uncomfortable, yet it is also where transformation happens, where the self you have been gives way to the self you are becoming. And to cross that edge you do not need guarantees. You do not need perfect circumstances. You only need the courage to believe in your ability, to figure things out, to persist through uncertainty, to make progress even if it is slow. Because every small step taken with conviction carries you closer to the seemingly impossible. And as you keep going, your belief compounds. It becomes reinforced with every challenge you overcome, with every obstacle you dismantle, with every day you choose persistence over surrender. And before long, the impossible begins to bend. It begins to crack, until one day you look back and realize that what once terrified you is now your new normal. And in that moment you understand that the real magic was never in the goal itself, but in who you became by believing in your own strength. For belief transforms not just outcomes but identities. It teaches you that the only permission you ever needed to chase greatness was your own. And when you live with that kind of belief, you stop waiting for the world to validate you. You stop shrinking your dreams to fit the expectations of others, and instead you start building a life that reflects your true potential. A life where challenges are not threats, but invitations to grow. Where failure is not a verdict, but a lesson. Where fear is not a prison, but a signal that you are stepping into the unknown, where all breakthroughs are born. And you realize that the greatest tragedy is not in aiming to high and missing, but in aiming to low and hitting, because a life without belief is a life half-lived, but a life with self-belief is a force of nature, capable of rewriting the rules, defying the odds, and inspiring others to do the same. So if there is one truth to hold on to, it is this: you will never know how far you can go until you dare to believe that you can. And when you believe with all your heart, not as a fleeting thought, but as a daily practice, as a choice you reaffirm every morning and every night, you awaken a strength within you that is immune to failure, that is blind to impossibility, that sees every setback not as the end, but as a stepping stone toward something greater. And it is in that unshakable belief that you will find the courage to start, the endurance to persist, and the vision to finish what others deemed impossible, proving to yourself and to the world that there is no limit to what a person can achieve when they decide that the voice inside saying "I can" is louder than every voice outside saying "You can't." And once you discover the power of that voice, once you let it guide your actions, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that can keep you from turning the impossible into the inevitable.